This story begins with a young man who thought he was simply logging into a new VR game called Reverse Planet, but the moment he opened his eyes, he realized something was terribly wrong. Instead of a game environment, he found himself strapped to a cold metal chair, unable to move. All around him, dozens of other people were tied down just like him, crying, panicking, and desperately trying to understand what was happening. Everyone believed it was just an ultra-realistic game, that they would eventually wake up, that they could log out. But as time passed, the truth became impossible to deny. This wasn't a game, it was a trap. The captives soon learned the horrifying reality. They had all been kidnapped and forced into something called Project Transcendence, a massive human experiment disguised as a virtual reality experience. Thousands of victims were subjected to psychological torture, extreme simulations, and brutal biological enhancements, all designed to force new abilities out of the human body. Many didn't survive. Those who did were left mentally broken. The young man watched friends and strangers die one after another. Some begged for forgiveness, some begged for help, and others simply lost their sanity. With nowhere to escape and no one to save him, he reached a breaking point. Consumed by rage and despair, he made a vow. He would survive this hell and take revenge on everyone responsible. Eventually, chaos erupted inside the facility. An alarm sounded. Locks disengaged. Guards rushed in. Captives broke free and ran for their lives. In the middle of the confusion, the young man managed to escape his restraints and fought his way out of the lab. Blood spilled everywhere as he clawed his way toward freedom. But the outside world offered no salvation. The experiment had already distorted reality itself. Reverse Planet, the supposed VR game, had manifested into real life. Monsters, awakened abilities, and world-changing anomalies roamed freely. The world had become an extension of the experiment. From that moment on, his life became a cycle of non-stop combat. For years, he hunted the people behind Project Transcendence. He killed anyone connected to the experiment, one after another. The voices of the dead haunted him constantly, begging him for justice, begging him to avenge them, begging him to end their suffering. No matter how many enemies he defeated, his revenge never felt complete. His rage never faded. Time lost its meaning. 1 year passed, then 2, then 3. He became a living weapon, fueled solely by vengeance, with no end in sight. But then something happened that changed everything. Out of nowhere, a glowing blue system window appeared before him, a message he had never seen in all his years of fighting. Special mission, bug fix, eliminate the major forces responsible for the collapse of Project Transcendence. Reward, escape route. After years trapped in this nightmare, he finally received a glimmer of hope, a real chance to escape this world and end the torment once and for all. And now, with one final mission in front of him, he prepares to take the last step toward freedom. The story opens on a blood-soaked battlefield. Bodies lie scattered on the ground, broken and groaning in pain. In the middle of this carnage, a man crawls desperately, begging for mercy. But mercy is the last thing he'll get. Crawling through the dirt is Chairman Choi Hwan-jae, the corrupt man responsible for countless deaths. Standing over him is Kim Yong-hoon, known as the Executioner, the strongest warrior in his world. The chairman screams, demanding answers, asking why this is happening to him. But Yong-hoon doesn't flinch. He simply replies that the chairman brought this fate upon himself. The chairman begins begging, promising money, influence, anything he can offer. But Yong-hoon steps closer and shuts him down. He tells the chairman that his crimes are far beyond what money can fix. In a final moment of judgment, Yong-hoon strikes him down. The monster responsible for so much suffering finally goes silent. Then, a blue holographic window opens. Special mission complete. After years of bloodshed and missions that pushed him to the brink, Yong-hoon has finally earned the right to return home. But the souls of the dead won't let him leave so easily. Dark shadows and voices clawed him, begging him not to go.
They plead for more revenge, more killing, more justice in their name. But for the first time, Young-hoon refuses. He's tired. He's done. He has taken enough lives. His body collapses, and as his consciousness fades, he leaves one final message to his closest ally. Tell the others, I'm sorry. With that, he presses the button and disappears. Young-hoon wakes up gasping in his room. Back on Earth, back in the past, back before everything went wrong. But even in this peaceful world, the memories won't fade. The screams, the blood, the faces of those he lost, they haunt him. He tries to convince himself it was just a dream, but he knows it wasn't. He gets a call from an old friend, someone cheerful and energetic. She has no idea what he's been through. She talks about streaming, gaming, and how he promised he'd appear on her show. They sit together at a restaurant, and for a moment, Young-hoon feels like he might truly be back home. But something is still wrong. At school, during class, the illusion shatters. Black and red spirits appear behind the students. The voices return. You don't belong here. Go and kill them all. Young-hoon collapses in agony. His classmates stare, confused, unaware of the horrors he's reliving. Everywhere he goes, the ghosts follow him. Their whispers grow louder, their hands reach out for him, shadows cling to him like chains. Lost in panic, Young-hoon accidentally grabs a student by the wrist. Startled, he lets go, realizing he nearly hurt someone who had nothing to do with his nightmares. He apologizes, shaken, admitting he's been acting strange lately. Outside the school, the spirits swarm him again. Did you forget us? Come back. We must have vengeance. They try to pull him into the darkness, but his friend finds him trembling on the ground and tries to calm him. She has no idea what monsters he's fighting. Then the realization hits him. He brought these ghosts into this world. His return didn't free him, it contaminated Earth with the trauma and vengeful spirits from the other world. If he doesn't finish what he started, these ghosts will never stop. They will haunt him, and eventually they will hurt the innocent people around him. So he makes a decision. He returns home, stands in front of the immersion device, the machine that once transported him to that deadly world. He knows what he has to do. He whispers to himself, "Let's go." The machine activates. Blue light engulfs him. His expression hardens. He has no room for fear now. I'll go back in and put an end to this for good.
In a dim, sterile chamber, the protagonist awakens as a blue system window materializes before him. "Welcome to Reverse Planet," it reads. He stands quietly, confusion filling his mind. Why is he here again? He remembers dying inside this world, so why didn't he return to reality? More system messages appear. His avatar data loads. Combat's correction set automatically to 0%. A new prompt appears. Select your first core ability. Glowing ability nodes shimmer like constellations. He remembers his past life here. He remembers the title he once earned, the Absolute, and he chooses the same ability again. A door opens. Test subject number 46, please enter. He steps inside. A massive ethereal drone drops from the ceiling, engines humming with murderous intent. His tutorial quest appears. Destroy the ethereal. Fight using your ability. The fight begins instantly. The drone attacks. He moves faster. He strikes harder. In a blur of motion, he crushes the drone, ending the test in seconds. The researchers panic. This performance, it's beyond anything they've seen. Suddenly, boom! Alarms blare across the facility. A distorted voice echoes through the speakers. Mic test, to the oppressed victims trapped inside the lab, give it your all and come outside immediately. Explosions rip through the halls. Flames roar across the metal floors. The entire facility is falling apart. He runs. In one corridor, he finds a dying soldier.
The man hands him weapons, then a communicator, one that can call the bureau once he reaches the outside. Moments later, the soldier dies. Meanwhile, something entirely different unfolds elsewhere. Kang So-yul, a popular streamer, appears. She introduces herself to her viewers, who immediately start teasing her. Losing a challenge means she must complete the Reverse Planet tutorial as punishment. She begins setting up her character. Combat correction normally makes the game easier. She sets hers confidently to 50%. Her chat erupts. Laughing, set it to 0. Real gamers go 0%. 0 or you're scared. She refuses, until one viewer sends a mission. Clear the tutorial with 0% combat correction. Reward? 500,000 won. Her eyes widen. 500,000 won? She slams the slider to 0% combat correction, then enters the tutorial and instantly dies. Her chat howls. Respawn, retry, dead again. She realizes just how impossible 0% combat correction is, but she refuses to quit. Fame and money are on the line. Eventually, a system message appears. Escape the research facility. Matching party member. A blue light engulfs her, and she's suddenly teleported right beside him. She freezes. Dozens of destroyed drones lie around the protagonist, and he's wielding no gun, no skills, no combat correction. Her chat goes insane. How? What is he using? Is he even human? She begins following him. The facility burns around them. Soldiers flood the area with kill orders. Gunfire erupts. The protagonist charges into them with terrifying speed, dodging bullets, crushing armor, tearing through trained operatives like paper. Soil stares in disbelief. Her voice shakes as she whispers to her viewers. Absolute being? Didn't you guys say that people who choose this power are trash? No wonder we don't understand what's happening right now. He doesn't speak. He doesn't brag. He simply moves like a force of nature.
The episode opens in chaos, blood, monsters, and a desperate escape. Wooyan charges forward, and Soil follows closely behind, both determined to reach the end of the tutorial alive. The system rings out. Tutorial mission complete. Level up. Skill point gained. Soil stretches, exhausted, thinking everything is finally over. But Wooyan stays tense, silent, analyzing everything around him. Then, Soil suddenly asks, "Could you join my streams regularly?" Her cheeks turned red as she fidgets nervously. She explains that playing together helped her a lot. Wooyan hesitates, then agrees. Not because of streaming, but because she saved him. His mind flashes back to the moment he should have died, a monstrous figure closing in, his vision fading. Yet he lived, somehow. A chill crawls down his spine as he whispers to himself, "Thanks to you." He defeats the lab security chief in a brutal clash. Soil cheers, viewers spam reactions, and the two prepare to exit. But something's wrong. The tutorial should have transferred Soil to the next stage. It doesn't. She logs out safely. He doesn't. Wooyan stands alone as the world shifts. His tutorial is far from over. The boss roars back to life, charging with overwhelming force. Wooyan responds instantly, weaving through attacks like he's done this hundreds of times. Because he has. He counters with a devastating punch straight into the boss's chest. Bone cracks echo across the room. What the? A bug? This guy isn't normal. Soil stares with question marks floating over her head. The boss rises again, twisted by a dark aura. "You little rat," he growls, morphing into something even more hideous.
He slams the ground, walls, and pillars, but Wuyan slips past every strike. "How long can you swing those arms with zero rhythm?" Wuyan mutters. Another perfect dodge, another perfect counter, and the boss's jaw nearly breaks on impact. Then the whispers return. "Kill him! Tear him apart! Make him suffer like we did!" The shadows swirl as the boss loses his sanity. Suddenly, gunfire erupts. New enemies appear from every direction. Soil pushes Wuyan aside and fires back, surprising everyone with her aim. "I helped out, didn't I?" she says brightly. Wuyan replies, "No." Chat instantly flames him for being ungrateful. Soil, however, is just happy she landed shots. As they move forward, Wuyan suddenly stops. There are two entities 20 meters ahead. Soil jumps. "How do you know that?" Wuyan responds casually, "Nothing in particular." He suddenly sees a girl in white running toward him, smiling with warm eyes. "Wuyan!" The vision twists. She's swallowed by darkness, dragged away screaming. "Maybe I had a reason," he mutters. Soil snaps him out of it, bragging again about how she saved him. "No," Wuyan says. She insists, "You did help!" As they reach a new hallway, Wuyan's movements suddenly become monstrous. Impossible flips, perfect dodges, attacks faster than the eye can track. How are his movements even possible? Who is this guy? Bodies fall like dominoes. The room falls silent. Wuyan stands alone among the corpses. The system reveals new lore, absolute being, a stat category not granted by leveling or items, something earned only by refining oneself. Because of its properties, the system views it as a skill that exceeds logic. Wuyan is walking the path of someone far beyond a typical player. Soil comments, It's odd, not being able to use abilities in a game where abilities are key." Chat throws theories. Is the system restricting her? Is she special? Wuyan studies her quietly. Her physical ability is below average, but her reflexes, aim, and focus, unnaturally good. Something about Soil isn't normal. The boss returns once more, fueled by demonic whispers. He charges towards Wuyan in a frenzy. Wuyan stands firm, calculating, predicting, reading every movement. He steps in, lands a clean strike, and ends the monster with brutal efficiency. The tutorial may have ended, but for Wuyan, this world is only beginning to reveal its truth. And someone watching from the shadows already plans the next move.
Early in the morning, at the Korean branch of Planet Earth, an emergency meeting is underway. The staff is in a panic as they analyze the unbelievable combat footage of a mysterious player. Everyone is shocked. His movements are too fast, too precise, and completely inhuman. No matter how many times they replay the clip, nothing adds up. There's no sign of external programs, no modded client, and no manipulation. Yet, the player's speed and reaction time are on a level they've never seen before. Even with slowed down footage, the analysis team is stunned. His movements look impossible, even compared to real combat experts. But the higher-ups aren't satisfied. They need proper verification. Meanwhile, Woo Hyun, the player at the center of this controversy, sits casually in a cafe with a streamer who helped share his gameplay. She excitedly tells him the internet has exploded because of him. People are arguing non-stop, and a no modification challenge has even started. Many viewers believe what he showed is too unreal to be legitimate. To make things worse, Planet Earth Korea contacted him. They want him to explain how he pulled off something that looks exactly like hacking. The streamer encourages him to respond, saying his silence will only make things worse. After thinking about it, Woo Hyun decides he'll do the verification test.
4 days later, his subscriber count skyrocketed, and the entire community is waiting for the day of the verification stream. Wu Hyun logs into Reverse Planet once again, preparing himself mentally. He understands the test is unavoidable. If he doesn't prove himself now, people will never trust him again. At the Planet Earth Korea facility, staff members greet him nervously. The streamer who accompanied him apologizes, thinking all this trouble is her fault, but Wu Hyun assures her he's fine. Soon, the verification team escorts him to the testing area. The door opens, revealing a massive, futuristic training chamber. This is the player training room, where combat abilities are officially tested. The staff explains that they will perform multiple combat evaluations to check whether Wu Hyun is receiving any external program assistance. Wu Hyun agrees to the procedure without hesitation. The first test begins with a mid-tier training bot. The staff activates the machine, and a humanoid robot steps out with heavy mechanical footsteps. Viewers watching the live verification begin commenting non-stop. Before the team finishes explaining the rules, Wu Hyun suddenly disappeared from their line of sight. He blitzes across the room toward the robot in an instant. The staff panics. His speed is faster than what they saw in the other video. The robot attempts to attack, but Wu Hyun dodges with impossible reflexes. His body moves like pure instinct, weaving in and out of danger as if he's fought for years in a real battlefield. Within moments, he strikes the robot with overwhelming precision. The machine collapses violently, its limbs torn apart as sparks fly across the chamber. The staff stares at their tablet in disbelief. The results appear. No external program interference detected. The analyst trembles. It's official. The unbelievable combat ability wasn't caused by hacking. It was pure skill. The chapter ends with everyone stunned beyond belief.
The verification test continues as Wu Hyun stands over the wreckage of the mid-tier training bot he just demolished. The staff stares at the results in disbelief. The system clearly states no external program interference detected. His movements, his speed, all of it is pure skill. The analyst trembles as he declares that this is absolutely not a hack. Wu Hyun calmly steps away from the destroyed robot and says, "It's done." But the verification team isn't finished. They explain that because of how fast the battle ended, they need to conduct further tests using more controlled methods. Wu Hyun agrees without hesitation. They begin the next evaluation. The team explains that a normal player relies on a mix of instinct and system-assisted combat, but Wu Hyun must perform using only his own natural ability. No system help, no automated response. Wu Hyun responds confidently. He'll fight however they want. The test begins with multiple training bots rushing toward him. The staff watches nervously, but deep down, none of them can imagine him losing. And they're right. Wu Hyun tears through the robots with explosive force. Every strike is precise, every movement fluid. He overwhelms the entire group without taking a single hit. The spectators erupt in disbelief. Even the streamer cheering from the sidelines knew he was strong, but not this strong. With this performance, the verification is essentially complete. But the administrator overseeing the test wants to know something more. Whether Wu Hyun can win using only his core ability against the highest level training bot, the strongest model. The final test begins. The chamber fills with smoke as the advanced bot appears, glowing red eyes staring him down. The audience watching the stream instantly reacts. This is no ordinary opponent. Some call the admin toxic for even suggesting such a fight. The test proceeds anyway. The advanced bot attacks first, and the force of its strikes shakes the room. Wu Hyun dodges, counters, and adapts. But something becomes clear. Her armor is too durable. His normal attacks aren't dealing any real damage. The spectators panic, thinking he's in trouble. But Wu Hyun calmly analyzes the situation. Since he can't break her armor outright, he decides to simply beat her until the damage stacks. And so he does.
He unleashes a barrage of strikes, non-stop pressure until the bot's systems overload. Sparks fly as the machine collapses. The admin immediately ends the test, declaring that enough data has been collected. The audience explodes. There's no question left. Wu Yan is completely legitimate. Afterward, the streamer excitedly thanks him for the performance. She had a great time, especially since the online community finally has answers. Before they part ways, she tells him to call her next time. Wu Yan leaves the facility, but something unusual happens on the way out. He receives a message about the signal of the battle preparation zone, hinting at new events inside the game. When he logs back into Reverse Planet, another streamer greets him, this one ready to broadcast with him for the first time. She's excited because the community is paying serious attention now. Wu Yan, however, doesn't care much for streaming, but she insists. She suggests they play PvP together. Wu Yan is confused at first, but she explains the rules. Player versus player combat, last survivor wins, or last team standing, depending on the mode. Wu Yan finally agrees. They choose Showdown, a mode where multiple players fight until only one remains. She picks the map, a high-risk area called Military Base, where mining equipment and weapons can be found. Wu Yan prepares to log in, and she can hardly contain her excitement. As the match begins, Wu Yan spawns in a ruined industrial zone. Elsewhere on the map, another player spots him and immediately launches an ambush. Explosions erupt as the area collapses from the attack. Eliminations start pouring in. Notifications announce one player after another being removed from the match. Dozens fall within minutes. Even Wu Yan's teammate is confused. What exactly is Wu Yan doing? Then, suddenly, her name appears on the elimination list. She's been taken out instantly. The chapter ends with her screaming internally, "What on earth is Wu Yan doing?"
The chapter opens with the system going wild. Notification after notification as Wei Wu-jin keeps eliminating players non-stop. Viewers watching the stream are completely stunned, because this was supposed to be the trash tier guy, the one nobody took seriously. But now, he's wiping out everyone like he's on a mission. Zhang Neon watches the elimination feed and realizes something is seriously wrong. Wu Jin isn't just doing well, he's dominating the entire battlefield. Meanwhile, the city around him collapses into total chaos. Buildings are crumbling, explosions are shaking the streets, and Wu Jin charges through the destruction like he's speedrunning the whole game. Even the enemies are confused. They can't figure out how he moves so fast, how he dodges everything, or how he reads every attack before it even happens. Neon tries to help by giving directions over voice chat. She marks her location, tells him where to go, tries to sound like a solid teammate. But by the time she finishes explaining, Wu Jin is already there. He's moving faster than her map callouts. He keeps tearing through enemies, 1 tap, 2 taps, 3 taps, turning the entire kill feed blue with his name. His opponents barely see him before they're eliminated. Then, a big boss-like enemy appears, covered in purple aura, roaring and charging straight at Wu Jin. Wu Jin doesn't flinch. He sidesteps, counters, and sends the guy flying with a single brutal strike. More waves come, but he takes them all out. Gudoki, Seibuknangi, Gentlelance, every name on the list falls. Neon watches in shock. Wu Jin is clearly playing on an entirely different level. After the last enemy drops, Neon runs out to meet him. She's relieved, cheerful, and trying very hard to look like she wasn't panicking. Wu Jin suddenly appears behind her, moving so fast she jumps. She thanks him for saving her, and even acts like she helped. But his expression basically says, "Sure, if you say so." When the match results roll in, Wu Jin is sitting comfortably at the top. Neon is thrilled, trying to pitch the idea of him joining her streaming career. Wu Jin stays polite but uninterested. He clearly has other things on his mind. Back home, Neon scrolls through the reverse time community. Everyone's talking about Wu Jin. He's trending, he's being praised, and she's celebrating like she just won the lottery. The next day at school, Neon gives Wu Jin a congratulation cake she made. But it looks awful. Wu Jin stares at it like it might explode. Neon instantly blames him for stress baking. Then a production crew approaches Wu Jin. They want him on a reality show featuring top players, big money, big fame. Wu Jin is wary. The sudden attention doesn't sit well with him. Neon, though, she's hyped. She tells him to take the deal without even thinking.
Woojin later checks his inbox and finds a disturbing message. Someone knows things they shouldn't. Then, huge donation alerts start rolling in from the same person, Anonymous Viewer 02. Woojin realizes this person knows way too much, maybe even where he came back from. He scans the room, trying to figure out who might be watching him that closely, whether this person is a threat or something worse. Meanwhile, Neon decides she's going to start streaming immediately. No prep, no plan, just pure energy. But right then, Woojin gets another chilling notification. A final system notice appears, hinting at something big. The chapter closes with Woojin realizing he's still being watched, and he's nowhere near understanding who's after him.
A college evening bustles with students returning from classes, but inside one quiet room, a single student remains immersed in his computer. Reviewers and broadcasters are hyping up a major game broadcast, and the chatter online builds anticipation. Meanwhile, in a bright, futuristic broadcast studio, two hosts prepare for a live stream. The female host sips her drink while her co-host, Cho Sung-chol, tries to stay composed as he introduces himself. They talk casually about the program, though Sung-chol is clearly nervous. When the broadcast goes live, the chat floods instantly with messages. The viewers want one thing: to see the mysterious participant known as Hungsik. As the hosts look at their monitors, the feed switches to a masked figure standing inside a game environment, entering privacy mode. The female host cheerfully explains that they will be watching the participant's mission together to understand his strategy. A message pops onto the screen: "Get it." Then the main mission appears, to join the Otherworld Management Bureau by escaping the forest and reaching their base. The participant immediately sprints into the dense woods. He remembers the last time he challenged this scenario. Back then, he only knew how to run away. But this time, he is determined. He charges forward, shouting to lure the enemies. Multiple soldiers react, spotting him from different directions, but instead of fleeing, he switches directions and ambushes them. The chat explodes as viewers see him dismantle the enemies with a mix of agility and ruthlessness. Even the hosts are speechless as they watch him purposely draw attention just to strike back harder. He maneuvers through attacks, slams enemies into the ground, and knocks others aside with lethal precision. Streams of status messages appear, tracking distance, warning alerts, and timers as the scenario grows more intense. More enemies flood in, and the participant moves with brutal efficiency, landing strikes, deflecting weapons, and using his surroundings to break formations. Viewers can't believe what they're seeing. This isn't the timid player from before. In the middle of the battle, an ability alert appears, offering him choices. The clock counts down, and he pushes through the onslaught, fighting aggressively while calculating his stats. His movements become sharper, faster, almost frightening. Eventually, a command unit arrives. Kim Chol, a high-ranking officer from the Interworld Management Bureau, introduces himself as part of the scenario's evaluation team. The Bureau oversees interdimensional events, manages monsters, and deals with dangerous otherworldly phenomena. Their job is to judge whether the participant has the qualities needed to join them. After subduing the enemies, the participant meets Kim Chol formally. He offers the walkie-talkie he received earlier from an agent who didn't survive. Kim Chol acknowledges this and decides to evaluate him personally. Despite the grim circumstances, the participant remains calm and accepts the judgment. The mission log updates again. He has successfully joined the Bureau as a new employee. He levels up, gaining ability points as rewards. Soon he is escorted to the Interworld Management Bureau's headquarters, a towering structure filled with researchers and agents working on various interdimensional threats. He never imagined stepping foot in such a place, but now he is part of the organization responsible for the subjugation of Reverse Planet's monsters, towering, nightmarish beings that threaten entire worlds. The Bureau needs people capable of handling these creatures, and his performance suggests he might be exactly what they're looking for. Later, he sits across from a woman in an office. She explains his situation, the responsibility of joining the Bureau, and the options available to him.
He reflects on his past, on how he originally fell into another world against his will. He remembers suffering and survival, memories filled with fear and guilt. But now, in this new reality, he has a choice. She asks him clearly which option he will choose. After thinking deeply, he decides that rather than avoiding conflict or seeking the safe route, he will face the threat head-on. He will eliminate every last monster. His resolve burns, and the scene shifts into a violent vision, him slaughtering monstrous enemies in a frenzy of rage and determination. His decision becomes absolute. Once training begins, he fights simulated enemies in brutal combat. Using chains, acrobatics, pure strength, and relentless fury, he overwhelms wave after wave of opponents. His techniques are sharp, his movements fluid, and his expression unyielding. Explosions shake the battlefield as he displays the full force of his potential. Even the enemies equipped with firearms stand no chance. By the end, his demonstration leaves everyone watching stunned. His path is chosen, his strength undeniable, and his journey with the Otherworld Management Bureau has only just begun.
The story continues with the protagonist seated across from an official, asked to make a defining choice about his future. After a moment of hesitation, he finally declares his decision. If he chooses the path of becoming an outer world agent, he risks being thrown into danger every single day. But despite the weight on his shoulders, he straightens up and states that he will become one of their agents. The evaluator smiles, impressed with his resolve, acknowledging that the requirement he met carried a tremendous risk. Later, she compiles the results, processing his answers and making the official recommendations based on his examinations. Every small decision he gave earlier now becomes important, and by the time the assessment ends, he is told he must wait for the next stage of evaluation. Meanwhile, discussions among the staff reveal that the outer world threat is increasing, and the incident at the training tower several nights ago is still unresolved. The Bureau is under heavy pressure. Strange distortions are happening across the regions, and the government can no longer cover them up. The protagonist reads the updates and realizes that these anomalies have been appearing more frequently. In the end, he is informed that he will begin his official training the next day. The following day, he wonders what lies ahead. He hopes his training will be effective, knowing he still has much to learn. Although humanity has crushed many threats in the past, some disasters still remain unresolved. The difficulty of these missions only grows with each case the Bureau discovers. As he steps into the headquarters, the broadcast hosts, observing his progress, comment on how drastically different the training room looks today. They recognize a picture of his previous survival scenario, shocked that such a dangerous simulation is part of the standard evaluation. Back in the studio, the hosts are amazed by the unique adjustments he made to the system, something no other participant ever attempted. Their curiosity explodes. This participant isn't just adaptive, he's unpredictable. They continue watching as the Reverse Planet AI reveals that the system itself had evolved while he was training. Once again, the observers are stunned by how effortlessly he interacts with interfaces that confuse even experts. Then, the system announces that his combat correction has been set to 0. The female host can't believe it, remembering that he had complained earlier about it being stuck at 1%, yet now it is completely disabled. The analysts quickly cross-reference the records, discovering that the error wasn't a glitch. His raw performance simply surpassed the correction threshold. As the commentators argue and theorize, he quietly continued through the simulation without hesitation. The broadcast then shifts to another competitor, a woman lounging confidently, savoring wine as she prepares for her own match. Rumor has it she's one of the top players in the entire virtual arena, and she plans to finish her opponent with overwhelming force. As the hosts discuss this, they realize that the protagonist is about to face her next.
Before they can fully process the excitement, the system loads the next stage, a battle preparation room shimmering with blue light. Inside, the protagonist enters the center platform as the next set of challenges load. The commentators begin explaining the ranking system of Reverse Dawn, listing the tiers from Bronze to Royal Master, finally noting the rarest rank of all, Contender. To even reach Bronze, a participant must win all 3 of their qualifying matches. The system then displays a message: 3 wins in 30 minutes. See you in the arena. The studio hosts can hardly sit still. This is when they notice something odd. Somehow, he didn't just qualify, he qualified almost instantly. Their confusion deepens when the system initiates private matchmaking for him. The simulation loads into the 17th area, a lonely cemetery glowing with eerie blue light. His opponent appears, a flamboyant, sharp-eyed fighter with orange hair. The man immediately taunts him, believing he has finally found the hacker disrupting the rankings. The chat erupts in laughter and accusations, but the protagonist simply prepares his weapons silently. Without warning, the battle begins. His opponent unleashes a storm of abilities, but the protagonist responds with explosive power, overwhelming the field. Every strike lands with precision as he counters effortlessly. The spectators struggle to keep up, astonished by his sudden ferocity. Before long, he wins the first round with a clean, decisive finish. The defeated enemy screams in frustration, demanding a rematch, calling him a monster. The next round begins. The battlefield changes, becoming even more intense. His opponent tries a new strategy, unleashing buffs and aggressive enhancements, shouting that he had gone easy earlier. Flames, lightning, and waves of energy fill the arena as the orange-haired fighter tries to crush him with brute force. But the protagonist sees through every movement. His expressions sharpen, his stance shifts, and he gradually dismantles the opponent's power piece by piece. The audience watches in disbelief as the so-called hacker hunter is smashed into the ground again. Back at the studio, the hosts recall something the protagonist once said, that if he ever met someone who called him a hacker, he should destroy that person thoroughly. They burst out laughing, realizing he is taking that promise literally. The battle reaches its breaking point. After a series of devastating blows, the opponent is slammed into the arena floor with a final crushing impact. Light bursts across the screen as the round ends, marking another victory for the protagonist. By the end of the evaluation, the results are submitted. His journey through the simulated battlegrounds, the intense ranked duels, and the brutal learning curve all serve one purpose: to prepare him to become an actual agent who can confront the horrors from the reverse planet. As the sequence closes, the system confirms his advancement, bringing him one step closer to joining the Bureau in real life. With this, his path solidifies, not just as a player, but as someone destined to face dangers that ordinary humans can't fathom.
The chapter begins with the protagonist experimenting inside the game system, testing out settings and exploring the options available to him. After adjusting his build, he enters the arena and immediately draws attention. Viewers in the livestream chat react with skepticism, wondering if he's just another cheater or someone using exploits to appear skilled. But as the match begins, he proves them wrong in an instant. His movements are sharp and unpredictable, and he overwhelms his opponent with what looks like effortless precision. Spectators are stunned when he completes 30 consecutive victories, climbing from the bronze rank straight to gold in a single session. The two commentators watching the stream from home are even more shocked. One of them argues that this kind of improvement shouldn't be possible, but the other insists that the game's fully adaptive AI must be adjusting itself around the protagonist's unique playstyle. The more he fights, the more the game learns about him, yet he never stops pushing ahead. When the stream ends, his rapid progress becomes the talk of the community. Viewers flood the chat, begging him to share his build. The female streamer hosting the match asks him directly, and to everyone's surprise, he casually agrees. She can barely contain her excitement as she announces it to her audience, celebrating his confidence. Meanwhile, the protagonist prepares for his next mission in the real world. His previous achievements have drawn attention from officials and team leaders, and soon he's brought to a military base where awakened individuals gather. His senior, a serious and highly capable officer, escorts him through the entry protocols. They discuss the abnormal portals and the growing number of invading creatures that threaten both worlds. Weak insect-type monsters may swarm in overwhelming numbers, but the real problem is how often the portals are appearing and how unpredictable they've become. Just as they prepare to enter one of these anomalies, they run into Choi Hyun-chol, a rude and overconfident awakened fighter known for his involvement with a major electronics corporation. He greets his senior with mock politeness, questioning why someone of her rank is dealing with such a small-scale incident. She ignores his taunts, but he continues pushing boundaries, commenting on her team and questioning her choices. The protagonist steps forward to defend her, warning Choi not to overstep, but Choi dismisses him as a rookie. The tension rises until her senior officer calmly orders him to stop, reminding him that this isn't the place for conflict. Begrudgingly, Choi backs off, pretending it was all in good fun. Once he's gone, the senior explains to the protagonist that Choi has connections in high places, which gives him a sense of invincibility. Still, she assures him that the mission comes first. They prepare themselves, and together they step into the swirling portal. The world on the other side is bleak and frozen, a desolate forest filled with fog and decay. The protagonist studies the surroundings and realizes he's been in an area like this before, but something feels different. The location is familiar, yet the scale is smaller than what he remembers from the other world. Before he can think further, he spots the corpse of an awakened fighter, sprawled out on the ground, blood pooling beneath them. The severity of the scene shocks him. A notification from the system confirms the danger level of the area. He readies himself, knowing that if monsters have already taken down someone experienced, something far worse might be lurking ahead. Meanwhile, in the real world, the shady awakened fighter Choi begins plotting outside the portal, smiling suspiciously as he mutters, "It's time to get to work." Back inside the distorted world, the protagonist braces himself for whatever comes next. The desolate forest is still and silent, the atmosphere heavy with unseen threats, and he realizes this mission may be far more serious than anyone expected.
The chapter begins with the protagonist adjusting to his newfound power and diving into the reverse world missions. After shocking both viewers and commentators with his rapid climb through the game rankings, he joins his senior officer, Lee Yoo-jin, for a real-world investigation inside an anomaly. Together, they step through a swirling blue portal that leads deep into the reverse planet. Yoo-jin explains that this place mirrors the other world he once experienced, though something feels different. The terrain seems smaller, and the dense forest gives off a strangely familiar atmosphere. But the calm doesn't last long. As they navigate forward, the ground trembles and a massive insectoid creature lunges at them. Yoo-jin shouts for him to watch out, but the incoming attack forces them apart, sending Woo-yoon rolling across the ground and deeper into the forest. The two lose sight of each other. Woo-yoon quickly regains balance and sizes up the monster. It's one of the new species that relies on overwhelming numbers rather than brute strength. He decides to wipe them out first before searching for Yoo-jin. Lightning crackles along his blade as he charges with precision, cutting down wave after wave. But the more he fights, the more he realizes something is wrong. The forest is far larger than what they were briefed on, and the number of monsters is way beyond what a small-scale mission should produce. Whatever is happening here isn't normal. Meanwhile, Yoo-jin battles her own swarm. Even with her skill, the constant attacks wear her down, and she starts to worry whether Woo-yoon is okay. Before she can regroup, fire erupts behind her. Choi Hyun-chol, the arrogant awakened fighter they met earlier, ambushes her with a flaming assault. His presence makes no sense. He wasn't supposed to be inside the portal at all. Yoo-jin dodges and counters, demanding to know why he's attacking her, but he just laughs it off and claims he's following orders. His strikes grow fiercer, pushing her back into the forest. Her wound becomes too deep to keep fighting, and she realizes she won't last long in a direct confrontation. Forcing herself to retreat, she uses Guardian Stone to momentarily block his attack and escape into the forest. Hyun-chol and his men chase her relentlessly, tearing through the terrain. Elsewhere, Woo-yoon finishes off the last insect monster and notices signs of a struggle. Trees sliced apart, scorch marks on the ground. Something must have happened to Yoo-jin. Before he can investigate further, he hears her voice echoing faintly through the forest. He immediately sprints toward it. Yoo-jin, meanwhile, continues fleeing from Hyun-chol's squad until another massive beast bursts from the ground. Even injured, she fights with precision, buying herself precious moments. But her strength is fading. She collapses beside a riverbank just as Woo-yoon arrives. He checks her wounds and realizes instantly that she was hit by a skill attack, one that only an awakened human could deliver. He asks her directly whether Choi Hyun-chol was responsible. She hesitates, then confirms it. This betrayal isn't just an assault, it's part of something larger.
Comments from viewers watching the integrated mission feed suggest Hyung-chul might be targeting something he knows only Woo-yoon can access. Despite her injuries, Yoojin tries to stand, insisting she can still fight, but Woo-yoon tells her to stay back and rest. She refuses at first, unwilling to let him face everything alone, but he assures her he has a plan. Higher up on the ridge, Hyung-chul and his men regroup, searching for the two. When they sense movement near the river, Hyung-chul lights up his blade again and rushes toward the target. But instead of finding an easy victim, he's met by Woo-yoon, standing calmly with deceptive composure. Hyung-chul tries to play it off with his usual arrogance, but Woo-yoon simply asks what happened. His expression twists as he prepares another strike. His eyes burn red with aggression, and flames explode across the clearing. The battle erupts instantly. Hyung-chul charges in, unleashing rapid, brutal attacks. But before he can land a decisive blow, Woo-yoon counters him with perfect timing, flipping Hyung-chul onto the ground and pinning him down. The fight ends as suddenly as it began, leaving Hyung-chul stunned, immobilized, and defeated. And with that, the episode closes, Woo-yoon standing victorious, Hyung-chul in disbelief, and the mystery behind the reverse planet's distortion only growing deeper.
The chapter opens with chaos erupting in the forest as the protagonist finishes off the last surviving contractor, leaving the man barely clinging to life. After confirming the blueprint is safely retrieved, he prepares to hand things over to the authorities. But before leaving, he checks the loot dropped by the enemies he just defeated. Among the spoils are rare items: the dagger of sharp return, a vicious weapon that grows stronger with each strike, the bracelet of the nimble, boosting agility and reaction speed, and Haranth's necklace, an item offering protection and defensive enhancement. With these new tools added to his arsenal, he comments on how conveniently his inventory system lets him inspect items instantly. As he sheaths the dagger, he mutters that it would be nice if the game would let him use these skills in reality. He reminds himself that he still has to clear the interfered world dungeon before his junior officer gets hurt. Meanwhile, that very junior is struggling somewhere else in the forest. Exhausted and out of breath, she suddenly faces a massive threat: the captum entity known as the Emperor Scorpion, an enormous monster towering over her. She steadies herself and tries to stay calm, but the situation looks bad. She jokes bitterly about how unfortunate it is to run into a monster like this in such a place, though she admits it's probably better it attacked her instead of her junior. The scorpion lunges at her with murderous force, and she braces for impact, preparing to fight alone. As the beast slams toward her, she activates her lightning-based ability, electricity crackling around her arm. She tells herself she must handle the threat without relying on anyone else. But the moment she launches her attack, something strange happens. Her lightning begins spreading unpredictably, then suddenly collapses. The Emperor Scorpion bursts forward through the smoke, unfazed. Just as the beast is about to strike her down, the protagonist arrives like a bolt of lightning, his blade extended as he intercepts the attack. He asks if she's okay, and she's stunned to see him. Before they can regroup, the dungeon's dimensional barrier begins to destabilize. He tells her that an exit portal is forming, and they need to move fast. They manage to escape just as the dungeon collapse completes, shards of distorted space shattering around them. On the other side, a system notification flashes: raid complete, level increased, ability point obtained, and several personal stats rising. Back in the real world, they return to the Dimensional Management Bureau headquarters. Taiwan, one of the senior officers, questions the protagonist about the attack. He confirms it's true. The contractors tried to kill him inside the dungeon. Taiwan asks what happened to them, and the protagonist answers simply, he killed them. Taiwan is shocked, asking if he acted in self-defense, and the protagonist quietly nods. Pressed further, he places Reek's phone on the table as evidence. The device contains incriminating information showing that the contractors planned everything, fully intending to lure him into a trap. With that,
The investigation team dismisses him, allowing him to leave. Just as he's about to walk out, Taiwan stops him and asks whether he understands what this means, that these enemies came for him personally. The protagonist hesitates, lowers his gaze, and admits that he does. As he leaves the room, the system chimes again. Mission completed, level increased, and another ability point awarded. A new prompt appears, asking him to choose his second key element. Elsewhere, the viewers watching his live stream begin reacting to everything that happened. During the stream, someone privately donated 3 million won, signaling that he has passed the first test. A message appears announcing a special mission, something only viewers seem to know about. Everyone wonders what element he'll choose next, as the screen glitches with anticipation. The chapter ends with a preview, as a new character introduces herself calmly, Kim Hana.
The first real mission finally ends, and the streamers reviewing it are surprised by how exciting it was. As they wrap up their commentary, a familiar notification pops up. Viewers have once again donated a massive 3 million won. The streamer can hardly believe it, shocked at how generous the audience is yet again. But the shocking part isn't the money. A special mission appears stating that by progressing in the game, a new system of reverse planet can be unlocked. The viewers immediately flood the chat, asking if the money should be used to unlock Hoxal's identity or if it's better spent buying new gear. She decides to simply send him a screenshot and let him handle it. Hoxal, meanwhile, studies the mission quietly. The system reminds him that new features will only unlock through continuous progression. His expression doesn't change much, but it's clear he's deep in thought. Even the streamers watching him from afar can't read him, but they know one thing: he never forces anything and always moves at his own pace. A few days later, it's the third backdoor training session. Rookies gather at the government facility, and a notification welcomes them to the National Management Branch's training program. One curious player asks if Hoxal will be participating as well, and just then, he appears. The trainees greet him with mixed reactions. Some are in awe, others intimidated. Not long after, Kim Hana arrives. The chat explodes with excitement. She's a top-performing player known as a one-man army in close combat. She introduces herself confidently, and Hoxal calmly acknowledges her. Despite her fame, she still seems genuinely impressed by him. The trainees whisper among themselves, realizing quickly that Kim Hana is far stronger than she appears, especially after witnessing how easily she knocks down a sparring opponent. As they prepare for practice, Kim Hana asks Hoxal if the rumors are true, that he defeated a high-ranking swordsman and even a spectro weaver. He simply answers, both, surprising her. Wanting to gauge his skill level for herself, she suggests that they start with a duel. The entire gym reacts instantly. No one expected a head-to-head match between two of the strongest newcomers. The streamers tune in again, commenting on the situation. They argue over whether this is normal among sword users, but one of them insists this only happens because Hoxal is built different. He's the main character of the entire phenomenon. The chat spams reactions, half excited and half terrified about what's going to happen. Kim Hana narrows her eyes, realizing something important. Despite the similar weapons, every player's path is different. Hoxal, she notes, has the potential to grow in a direction completely unlike anyone else. The system of progression in this world isn't linear and varies wildly depending on the player's abilities, choices, and the planet they're connected to. Just like reality, paths diverge, and Hoxal's is uniquely unpredictable. The two stand across from each other, blades in hand. Their presence alone is enough to shake the atmosphere. The tension rises as they prepare for the duel, and the chapter ends with both of them locked in a silent standoff, ready to clash.
The story continues with the protagonist wrapping up his sparring session, telling his mentor that he'll see her again soon. She warns him not to push himself too far, but he simply nods and follows her as she says she has something to show him. At that moment, notifications begin popping up. His mission against Kim Hana is complete, and his level skyrockets several times in a row. She leads him into a massive armory filled with every weapon imaginable. As they step inside, the armory manager greets them. already informed of their visit. He explains that since the protagonist has grown so quickly, he needs a proper weapon instead of the basic gear he's been using. His mentor agrees, pointing out that anything they give him now has to be something he can truly rely on. He begins browsing through the armory shelves, but nothing really stands out. Every blade feels off, every weapon feels ordinary. Just when he's about to settle, his eyes catch the glow of a long, ominous red sword. When he touches it, the system identifies it as the Vampire's Greatsword, complete with its stats and abilities. It looks usable, but it still doesn't fully sit right with him. He keeps searching. Then a sudden glow appears from his inventory. Without warning, the heirloom of ownership activates on its own. The spectators watching the stream instantly erupt in confusion. No one has ever seen a one-option weapon evolve this early. The chat floods with reactions, wondering how this could even be possible. The donation alerts rain in non-stop. It fuses with the blank necklace he got from the previous stream, the Hermit's Necklace, a reward that should only appear mid-game. Viewers point out that he shouldn't have it yet, but the analysts explain why. Reverse Planet's reward system scales with risk. The harder the challenge, the better the reward. Since he completed a mission far beyond his current level, the game compensated with a mid to late game item. Flashbacks show how he fought alone against overwhelming odds, completing tasks most beginners wouldn't even survive. Everything he endured led to this moment. The hosts decide to simply watch and see how far he'll push this advantage. His mentor turns back to him, noticing his new weapon and accessories, and suggests that since he's now properly equipped, they should go on a raid. Moments later, they arrive atop a snowy mountain, wind whipping across the cliffs. A glowing blue portal sits hidden among the rocks. She admits she never expected a portal to be all the way up here, while he casually says the climb already warmed him up. She explains that this dungeon is where beast-type invaders usually appear. A hologram displays the dungeon stats, a small-size zone, beast-type monsters, and a danger level around F to F+ rank. She tells him the enemies aren't individually strong, but the fast respawn rate and sheer numbers make them dangerous. With that, the two step toward the portal together, ready to begin their raid.
The chapter begins with the battle reaching its climax. After cutting down waves of shadow wolves, the protagonist stands firm, his scythe glowing with absorbed energy. His attacks are clean, precise, and overwhelmingly powerful, shocking the onlookers who didn't expect him to handle captain-level monsters with such ease. Even as the beasts regenerate and push him back, he refuses to give in, countering with sheer will and technique. With every soul the scythe devours, its cutting power rises, giving him the edge he needs to finish the fight. Once the last wolf falls, the forest grows quiet. The others regroup around him, impressed but confused. They comment on how the mission difficulty didn't match what was advertised, but they quickly realize it was probably affected by his actions earlier. Just as they prepare to leave, the group discovers a glowing egg sitting in the middle of the clearing. No one knows what might come out of it, but the egg suddenly cracks open before anyone can react. What hatches is a tiny, fluffy creature, a small wolf pup with bright eyes and a wagging tail. It bounces around harmlessly, leaving the group stunned. They debate whether it's dangerous, but the system suddenly announces that the lightning wolf has been registered as his pet. Before he can process that, an emergency maintenance alert appears. The entire server is about to shut down in 5 minutes, and everyone is asked to log out immediately. Streamers covering the mission are confused, wondering if the sudden maintenance is connected to the unexpected pet registration. As the broadcast ends, people begin speculating. Developers and analysts watching the stream wonder if the emergence of the pet system is somehow tied to his strange influence on the game. On the other side, the viewers keep debating whether it's coincidence or something more serious. Across the company, the developers gather in a conference room and start reviewing what just happened. Even they admit that the pet registration system wasn't something the dev team had implemented. Sophia, the head developer, confirms that this kind of update could only come from one person.
She reveals a name, Isaac, the former head developer of Reverse Planet, a genius engineer who mysteriously disappeared. Only Isaac would be capable of implementing a system change without anyone else knowing. They suspect he may have had something in the works long before he vanished. The team also wonders about DEUS, the artificial intelligence that manages the game's core systems. DEUS stopped responding completely after Isaac went missing, raising even more concerns. The situation quickly becomes urgent. Sophia orders the monitoring team to keep their eyes on the streamer, believing that something critical may happen soon. She doesn't know what Isaac was planning, but she's certain his actions will bring major consequences. Meanwhile, deep inside the system, data streams shift and glow as if reacting to something. A hidden interface activates and a new mission prompt appears. The reward is unusually rare, tied to a special mission, and it warns that for the next objective, the player will need someone they can trust completely. And with that, the chapter closes, hinting that the protagonist's mysterious power, his new pet, and Isaac's secret updates are all connected, setting up the next phase of the story.